I get discouraged for sure, and I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Dale Parrish. Welcome to Convention of States Indiana Live. And we have a great show lined up for you tonight. Of course, I say that every week, but we really do have a great lineup for you this evening. And I want to get right to it. Let me bring on my co-host, Ken Kashuba. Hi, Ken. You're muted.
Hi, Dale.
There you
How
go.
are you?
Good. Glad to see you.
You
Ken,
too.
Ken has made it back from a wedding in New Jersey. Am I right, Ken?
Yeah, all the way out there in that crazy state of New Jersey. So yeah, I got a chance to visit.
Yeah, drove 10 hours today and made it back in time to be on this broadcast tonight.
Just for you tonight, Dale. Just for you.
Oh, geez, thank you very much.
I avoided speeding tickets as well. So
good for you. Well, Ken will, as co-host this evening, Ken will be monitoring our comments and questions that viewers can submit. If you are a viewer, either on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, feel free to submit a comment or a question in the chat feature. And Ken will be monitoring those and will flash up any that are very pertinent to our topics this evening. So, Ken, we always like to show this. This is broadcast number 224, and you have been on board for 88. The last 88 of those.
Closing in on the 100.
Closing in on that 100 mark. Yes,
That's
sir.
Right.
So hopefully we will have many more. We plan on it at least. So hopefully we will have many more. So Ken, take just a little bit of time here and tell us briefly what that QR code is up in the corner there.
Yeah, that little code up there is our subscribe code. With your camera, you can scan that code and put in your name and email address, and we will get you on our subscribe list, which will get you upcoming information on future programming and get you connected right up here with COS Indiana Live. We are looking to increase our subscriber list, and it'll help share and get the word out about our programming. So if you like what you're seeing and hearing, go ahead and subscribe to that using that QR code. It's really simple.
All right, very good. That is becoming a very popular, and we obviously want to continue to build that. We'll bring Ken back on a little bit later to talk about that again, just so to keep everybody briefed on that. Well, Ken, let's move on to our first guest this evening. This young lady has been on many times with us, Debbie Stewart, and Debbie generally gets us in trouble one way or another, but not every time. I will say that, not every time, but
she enjoys watching you start to sweat, Dale. So I think that's.
I think she does. I do believe she does. Yes, and she's kind of been our constitutional expert, civics expert.
We always learn something when Debbie's on.
Yes, World Health Organization.
Yeah.
Oh boy. She'll get really excited about that particular topic. So I guess we got ourselves in enough trouble here. Let's go ahead and bring Debbie on. Hello, Debbie. You're muted. There you go.
Great.
You notice I didn't say anything till I unmuted myself, so I knew that was coming.
You did?
You usually unmute me, though.
You know, you're probably right. Anyway, maybe it's just my internal intent is to keep you muted. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't mean that. I
didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. No. Well, Debbie said when I asked her to appear tonight, Debbie said that she had come across a topic that she thought was very, very interesting. And I had never heard of this. And Ken, I think you said you'd never heard of this either, right?
Never heard of it. Never heard of it. No.
Well, you might know Debbie would find this topic. And Debbie did full service community schools. Didn't you tell me that I know you follow the World Health Organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this kind of an offshoot from that organization, or is there a connection there?
Yeah, I think that the overall global goal is that education needs to be equitable now. And that global goal, the Biden administration has completely embraced all of the World Economic Forum sustainable goals and the World Health Organization policies and amendments that they have. And so this is just fitting right in under that, because although what I'm going to tell you about these full service community schools, some of this sounds really good, but what we don't know is what they're teaching, and because they're getting grant money, what's happening as far as curriculum. But we do know the organizations supporting are completely inclusion and equity organizations. They're woke organizations. Yeah. And so I'll give it to you on face value, and then we'll talk about what the implications could be, the advantages, disadvantages, and what are their plans? Where are they going with this?
Okay. All right.
That sound okay?
That sounds great. Sounds great. I hope I think we should have some comments and questions on this tonight from viewers, because as we go along and learn more about this, folks, this is, well, maybe I'll save this. Well, I'll say it anyway. This topic, this is ripe for Convention of States and what we're trying to address, and that's government overreach. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to understand and see as Debbie presents this to us tonight that it is ripe for government overreach. So anyway, go ahead, Debbie.
Here. I agree with you that. And the interesting thing is that there'll be some parents that fall right in and just agree with it. But I think there will be some discerning parents that start to see this and go, wait just a second. What's underneath all of this?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So go ahead.
Okay. So they're called full service community schools. They're abbreviated FSCS. And they're a model of one of the most popular and growing kinds of schools, or community schools, that's coming up on the docket. Now, this isn't old. Even though nobody's really heard about this, the Biden-Harris administration has been going at accelerated speed with this. And I'll get into that in just a minute. But it started in about the 1980s when this whole principle, they started seeing maybe some benefits or how they could get into the schools in a deeper level. And then in the 1990s is really when a coalition came up for community schools, organized, gave himself a name, and started accelerating all this. And we'll talk about that organization in a little bit.
Are you telling this started in the 80s?
Well, the ideas were there about,
really?
Getting the school to be the center, and then you could get organizations to come in, and the parents were there, and the schools tended to be more central. But we definitely accelerated that whole thing and what it looks like now. So it's one of those where somebody comes up with an idea that might work, and then the government says, oh yeah, that'll work for us to do all these other things that really aren't going to help the academics of the student. So I think there's a shiny part and there's a dull part. There's a good part and there's an evil part to this, and we have to discern what's going on in each of our local ones. And we actually have one here in Indiana. That $1.2 million is going to Marian University, considered a full service community school. And it's interesting if you look at the donators, the people who are donating these, then some of the money, like United Way has several of the schools in the country that they're donating to. I'm not so sure I trust United Way because, so that's what I'm talking about. It's like who's beneath the sand underneath the school. And
so wait, you say Marian University, is a university, not
So Marian University is considered on the list of full service community schools, $1.2 million, and they're saying it's multi-local education agency. That's what's listed on the chart. And it's interesting, Ohio State University is also considered a full service community school. So I'm not sure how that fits in, but
wow.
Yeah. But let's get back to what a community school is. So it's widely implemented in the under-resourced communities and communities of poverty. And a lot of times in the urban cities, in the cities that don't have as much resources. It's an alternative to public schools in the United States designed to coordinate community assets within a school. So no longer does the child come to school and then they have to leave to go other places. It can all be right there. And we're going to talk about all those elements in a minute. Now, I want to say something about this. They're talking about all these goals and how this can help, but there's really very few scientific studies that it's actually working. So keep that in mind. Okay. A lot of this it's just talk, but there's very little to say, hey, this is actually really working. Community services integration can provide an atmosphere of promoting and supporting parents. They call it social capital. So somebody who lives in a poor area might not have a lot of connections. But if all these providers and these health organizations are coming to the school, and then the parent comes to the school, then they get exposed to other organizations that might improve their capital. It might improve their job. They might find a job that's a higher called social capital. That's the word they use. They implement community services, and it's kind of an integration of urban places and the disadvantaged. So it's really equity. Okay, we're really looking at underprivileged groups here. They bring together parents, youth social service agencies, and it's designed to offer comprehensive services to the student, the parent, and the families in the community. It's usually public, elementary, or secondary schools that collaborate with local education agencies. They're called LEAs. And community-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, and other private or public organizations. So, for example, you could have a doctor in there. So if anybody needs any kind of medical help, there's somebody there. If they need to go see the dentist, there might be a dentist at the school now. If they're having mental health issues, there will now be a mental health professional or a group of them there at the high school or at the whatever grade that is, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's lots of different organizations it can be. But it's interesting because the U.S. Department of Education listed this as the primary purpose. So I'm going to, in quotes, provide comprehensive academic, social, and health services for students, family members, and community members. And here's the part they haven't proven, that will result in improved education outcomes for children.
Yeah.
So they're saying, well, gosh, if we can provide everything for the student, they'll be much more safe. They'll be in a classroom where they learn better. But none of that's been proven, right? And it depends, what are they using to help these kids? If they come in and they're confused, are they going to encourage them to be transgender? That's the issue. Or are they going to say, hey, let's take a look at this, and so it all depends on who's running all of those organizations. And
well, it also depends on what the educational goals are.
Yes.
Okay. Are we talking reading, writing, math, the history, the basics, or are we talking about, are we going into mental health issues? And
well, it's very interesting. There's no talk about that, but they keep talking about the whole child, the health of the whole child approach. But all that is inclusion, equity, diversity, social emotional learning talks about the whole child. The World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization talk about the whole child. So in other words, they're saying you as a parent don't really know how to do this. So we're going to come in and we're going to treat the whole child. We're going to decide what kind of mental health they need and how they're going to do with their health. And it's going to be available for you. And the parents are supposed to be involved. So we'll see how that goes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It's expected to provide, okay, so here are some of the goals. Expected to provide developmentally appropriate support for students who have disabilities, they have mental health issues, they have similar challenges that might be like a lifespan issue, maybe like ADHD, something that they might have for a long time. And they want to be able to improve the transition from a child to an adolescent to an adult. Now, whose job does that sound like it is supposed to be?
Kind of sounds like the parent, doesn't it?
Yes. And so you're going to see more and more, they are totally infringing on parents' rights in every way possible.
Now, but like you said, in the cases where the actual parents are not accepting that role and not performing that role, they're going to be very open to this.
I think absolutely, because these kids are, if they don't have something new, they can get into trouble. Or, if there's an absent parent in the home, the school can help pick up. So that's what I'm saying. There are some benefits to this. And I think that's what the government might be kind of trying to hone in on. But really, I don't think that I don't know if their goals are really to help the student. I feel like that whole equity, because this whole thing is based on equity. So
Debbie,
go ahead.
Is this coming down from the Department of Education?
This is coming from the Biden-Harris administration, the Department of Education. I'm trying to remember the Secretary of Education, which is Cardona. I'm trying to remember his first name now. Oh yeah, Miguel Cardona. He's totally in on this. And actually, he was saying that he was going to Idaho to go see one of the full service community schools to see how it was doing. And they're giving $74 million this year to
how does
schools.
How does the school qualify to get this money? I guess it's like anything else that you're dealing with the Department of Education. Do they have to sign over, something, or they have to get this approved? Or I mean, do you know how that works?
I don't, and I'm not sure if they're really telling that, but I do know that they're supposed to be in rougher neighborhoods, more poverty areas, and I don't know what those are. I just know that they're giving $74 million, and they listed the 30 or so schools that they had on the list here. I'm gonna look here, and so if we look total, they have some goals. So right now they're giving $74 million, but they're going to expand these schools, and they have a new 5-year full service community schools grant to support an additional 30 local education agencies to expand the community schools. So here's some of the things that are going to be okay. So they want to address. They want to have programs for before and after school. They want to have programs during the summer break, and they want to have programs on the weekends for kids. So they're at the school a lot. Provided and funded by partner agencies, so like the Public Health Department, Parks and Recreation, Community Mental Health, community center agencies would come in and provide programs so that the school is basically open all the time, a lot of the time. They were talking about psychological, social, and physical support services, addressing health, emotional, and family needs. They talked about using mentoring, tutoring, and after-school enrichment programs. That all sounds really good. But in the 1990s, the Coalition for Community Schools is the one that really is accelerating this. So here's some of the things. They would have nutrition assistance for all the students, mental health services, early childhood education. So we're talking preschool, maybe even under preschool, right? Get them started early. Dental, vision, after-school programs, summer learning, health services, and then in addition to early childhood education, they would have early learning programs for really little ones. And I was like, gee, how early do you want to start? But again, if your mom works and your dad's not in the home, this would be a really nice thing for a parent to take advantage of, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what their child is learning while they're in there.
That's just a thing, yeah.
That's going to be the thing. And what is it that they are doing? We know that a lot of times when we get a grant, you have to agree to some things.
That was kind of where I was headed with that, with the Department of Education. You have to agree. You have to, you have to do something in order to get to be granted that money. So I was just curious. And we've had a comment in concerning the Department of Education. I'll just flash. It really doesn't fit in exactly with what we're talking about specifically, but it does. The question is basically, why do we still have a Department of Education? Again, this fits in with our federal overreach. Basically, is the Department of Education. It was never a constitutional job of the feds. So the question was from DC Charlie that why do we still have a U.S. Department of Education? So I just thought I'd bring that in.
Ken, it's because you can't indoctrinate them on a state level because it'll change. If indoctrination is to work and it's to be effective, you have to have the same thing being taught. And the only way to do that is to have a governing body. And depending on who gets in first, I'm being sarcastic with you.
No, fully. But and again, that's that, if we are able to go ahead and with the Convention of States, that is an area that we could basically get taken care of in an amendment. We could get rid of some of these overreaching governmental programs, and that kind of was what DC Charlie was I think referring to. So I understand.
And that was a great question, and it's very interesting because of the global government and the push that we're supposed to obey now, this global governing body. They don't want us to not have a federal level of education, because then they lose control. Just like Biden and Harris administration loses control. So their goal is to expand the number of community schools across the country to raise the bar in education. Again, we don't know that this is actually helping them get better test scores, but we're dealing with social emotional. And we know that what Germany did was they changed the whole curriculum before Hitler got in, but when he was moving into power, they took the textbooks and they threw them out, and they got all these racist textbooks. And they began to indoctrinate them 3 hours. Then 6 months later, it was 5 hours worth. They threw out all the math, all the important things, and they spent time in racism and the Nazi ideology. And they fired all the teachers that didn't agree with that ideology. And it's very interesting how over time it just completely changed a generation of youth. And so here it is, the schools at the center again. Go ahead, Dale.
That's a very interesting topic. I watched Mark Levin last night, and he did he devoted a whole program to what happened in the 30s in our university system in this country, and how the Nazi regime infiltrated our university system. Oh, wow. And the universities were open to it. Many of the major universities were supportive of Hitler and of what was going on in Germany at the time in the 30s. So his ultimate point is we could be repeating that right now.
I think that's what we're seeing, and we've seen the indoctrination in our universities for communism and Marxism over the last 20 or 30 years.
Right. Well, the anti-Semitism is a very signal that we could in fact be repeating this.
Well, and it's interesting. They fired all the Jewish professors first, and then they said, well, the Jewish kids could go to school, but they only allowed so many per school. And then 5 years later, they were completely expelled out of school.
Really?
So it was a slow, but actually pretty quick thing. Before, Jews weren't allowed to do anything. The Israelites weren't allowed to do anything. And I think it's really sad that American universities tied right into that. That we went along with it. But it's interesting because Secretary Cardona, Miguel Cardona, said this. For schools, he said, we want a comprehensive wraparound approach. Right. So the child is ours.
Right.
You've heard Biden say that. Those kids are ours.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the plan. Here we are. Actually, this is the plans here. Okay, so they want to expand the full service community schools fivefold. In 2020, they gave $25 million. In 2023, was $150 million. This year's grant of $74 million will support 102 school districts, 292 schools, and about 230,000 students. They have 4 pillars: support and address the out-of-school barriers to learning with these social health services, not by counselors. They want to bring all these organizations in to help the students. They want to expand and enrich learning opportunities. Nothing in here about math or science yet. Active family and community engagement. That sounds good. And collaborative leadership and practices. And remember, their leadership is equity. It's all equity based.
Yeah.
So, So we talked about Marian University, the whole child, SEL, DEI. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of touched on some of the advantages, especially to low end. Well,
single moms.
Yeah, not necessarily low income, but families where parents don't have an interest, a strong interest in their children.
Okay.
So, what other any other advantages that we haven't mentioned yet?
Well, I think that because the parents are going to be more involved at the school, supposedly they think, well, it'll strengthen the parent-child relationship and also the parent-teacher relationship because, instead of picking their son or child up at daycare or at the doctor, they're going to be going back to the school. So that could happen, right? They'll get maybe more health attention than they wouldn't have gotten at home, depending on how these health plans work. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. They say it might help them to focus on academics. So I don't know, hopefully that is one of the goals, and just improving academic success. But again, there's no data here at all.
Yeah.
They're presenting it like we already know it's working, but we don't have hardly any data at all.
So disadvantages.
Advantages, yeah. Well, let's see. We talked about one of the issues earlier. Do you remember what it was? What was the main one that popped up about them wanting to do so much with the child?
Well, for me, it was the mental health was
okay.
And not defining the educational goals. Was there anything that stood out with you, Ken?
I think it was not knowing what they were, what their what is the I'm not sure what the curriculum's the right word for it, but what are they teaching?
Well, and replacing the parent.
Replacing the parent.
Yeah, that's the big one, is taking the control from the parent. What if the vaccines are being pushed and they can get them right in school? Do the parents have to give permission?
Right.
What if the kid's struggling? Are they going to go to a counselor that says, you're probably transgender? The parents are going to be out of the loop. And we know that not last summer, but the summer before, John Glenn High School in California, they tried to have Planned Parenthood move in to the school and have an office there to counsel the kids for reproductive services. So this is nothing new. But anytime they're talking about the whole child, like these groups or people are doing, they're talking about social emotional learning. They're not talking about math, science, and English and writing. They're talking about teaching kids to recognize being a racist and the oppressor and the oppressee. They're pulling a lot of the language out because they know that we know the key words. But when I looked up this organization that's supporting this, the Institute for Educational Leadership, here's their slogan: innovation, equity, leadership. Equity is 1/3 of what they do. And so they're the one pushing this whole thing, and the Coalition for Community Schools is exactly in the right place and the same thing. So I think what we're going to see is a lot of indoctrination. And if they're getting the grant money, then they're going to probably have to do certain things in that school that is being pushed from the Department of Education, which is taking its orders from the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, that's always key. Now we do have another question, Debbie, and it goes back to, I know you mentioned, that some parents would see this as, obviously, I mean, they wouldn't hesitate at all. Our friend is asking here, is there any way for parents to have any say in what their children are taught, and would the system side with parents or children?
Well, that's a great idea, and that is usually comes from the school board and the school board meetings. That's why it's so important for us to get involved at the local level. I have heard the school board is really, if you can get a conservative majority on your school board, a lot of these things will not make it. But I don't know, since these are full service community schools, how they do that.
Yeah, I think that's the question here is there any way for parents to have any say in what their children are? Well, if it's a full service community school, you may not have any say. That's the unknown part of this.
Right.
And does being designated a full service community school, does that override the role of the school board?
That's a great question.
So I think there's in answer to the question, we don't know at this point in time.
We don't. And one thing I do want to say, because I had some other goals that were here, but they are very strong in getting this stuff, expanding new schools. They want 2 positions within the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education to advance community schools. They want positions. They want them in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They want more money. They want, it's called the Full Service Community School Expansion Act of 2020. They are pushing hard. They have a whole group of goals. It looks like the sustainable goals from the World Economic Forum. We're going to do this. We want this. We want that. We want. And so it's going to, these people that are on the left, they push so hard. I wish the conservatives, we all did the same as they did, because they just don't give up. They just keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, let's talk about conclusion is, we local activation, right? Like we talked about activism here in your local area. So those people who live in the vicinity of Marion University, I don't know I've been down there once or twice, but I don't know the demographic makeup around there.
Yeah.
But what's going on down there? Can we look into that? That's got me curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
That's Grant County. I think that includes like cities like Gas City, I think, and of course, like you say, Marion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be Grant County, I think, predominantly. So most of the cities that fall within Grant County would be included in that.
Yeah, and they're getting about 1.2 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So very, very interesting to watch how that goes. I wonder if this will
become, what's that?
Do you think, will this become an election issue with next year? I just wonder how many people really know about this.
Know about it.
Yeah.
The only reason I saw it is because I get the education emails from the Biden-Harris administration, from Cardona. I get the health ones from Becerra or whatever his name is. I want to see what they're doing. Yeah. So sometimes I'll read it and I'm like, yeah, and I'll just delete it. But when I saw that one, I was like, wait, just a second. What's the 74 million? What's a full service community school?
It sounds like it could be another runaway train. Yeah.
Yeah. So, keep your ears open, your eyes open, and watch for this stuff. Right now, there's only one, but they're going to expand them, and be interesting to see what's coming out of these places.
Debbie, I think we ought to wrap this up, but I think we ought to put this on the agenda for sometime next year, just to follow up and see how this program is going along.
That sounds good.
Because I think this is something we need to keep tabs on, definitely. So.
Yep. I agree.
Well, we'll see, Debbie. If you get us pulled off, we'll see. We'll
know we're on a hot trail then, if that happens.
Yeah, if we do that means we're on the right track.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, Debbie, thank you very much. Very interesting topic, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. And hopefully this broadcast will help to educate some people and open some eyes to some of our followers. So, Debbie, thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Debbie.
Good segment there. I'll tell you, that's
always something interesting you have to be following, right? I mean, there's just
if
you don't have enough going on,
Right. Well, listen, let's take a little break here, and I want to got a John's Journal little short video here that will play that, and then Ken will give you a little more time to once again hit the QR code topic there.
Sounds good.
And then after that, we'll bring our state director on, Dale Tipton, and let him give us a little status report on how the state is shaping up as of November. So
Sounds
Let's
good.
take a look at John's journal here.
All right.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana. You know, it's been said that I'd rather light a candle than curse the darkness. And I'm saying the same thing today. Darkness flees in the face of light. Darkness will retreat. It has no choice in the presence of light. And so rather than just cursing the darkness all the time, oh, it's so bad out there, things are going to hell in a handbasket, things are looking bleak, rather than that kind of an attitude in life, I want to have the attitude that says, let's light a candle. I'd rather light a single candle than to curse the darkness, because darkness will retreat. It has no choice in the presence of light.
Short, but a good point.
Short, but John always has a good point, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Yeah, he sure
does. Yep.
All right, Ken, tell us about this QR code again.
Yeah, we are looking for people, obviously, to go ahead and get your smartphone, your cameras out, and scan that code. With that, you'll get a subscription to COS Indiana Live. Basically, just a subscription we're developing that will give you some insight. We're looking really to expand this in 2024. So it is something we're looking to bring out that will give you some advance notice as to some of the topics we're looking at. Maybe some of the special guests and people we're looking to bring on, so that you can kind of target any particular programs you really want to tune into. So just a good way to get hooked up with COS Indiana Live, and we'd like that subscription list to grow and be able to share those type of topics with friends and neighbors, and that helps everybody grow and everybody get input into what we're doing here at COS Indiana Live. So scan the QR code, and it's just a simple name and an email address is all we need.
Good deal. Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, let's bring on our state director, Mr. Dale Tipton. Hello, Dale.
Greetings, gentlemen. Good to see you again.
You too, Dale.
We got two Dales on here.
Yeah, I'm always overrun by Dales.
Dale squared.
Dale squared.
All right. Well, Dale, we like to bring you on fairly early in the month to give us a status report of how the state has done as of the prior month, how we stack up. So why don't you take it away, and let's talk about the status of COS Indiana for the month of November, as of the month of November.
Well, very good. So we file action reports, as you guys all know, to kind of keep track of activity. And so for November, we were down a total of 127. We had 152 reported, down 127 from October, which is quite a significant drop off. Since this is the first year that we're watching these, it's hard to know exactly why, but I'm sure it's holiday related, and probably something similar in December would be expected because people's attention are all turning towards Christmas and things. So, but anyway,
these are activities that all of us engage in, COS related activities, and we have a way of reporting these, and so Dale and all of us can then see a report showing how many did this, how many did that, how many engaged in this activity. So very helpful, very helpful.
Exactly right. And just for I guess a reference, our high activity report for the year was in March, and that was 309.
Oh, okay.
So you got 309 compared to 152. Region 5 was our strongest statistical region, led by Vicki Mooring, a very able region captain. And then we had a couple of outstanding volunteers. Diane Jones and Kelly Beal were the top statistical performers. So we like to recognize them as well.
Diane Jones being one of our district captains, right?
Yep.
And Kelly Beal is
I think she's a regional LL. Yes.
Regional legislative liaisons. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And then we broke 65,000. We're at 65,150 petition signers. We gained 140 from last month, with total supporters of 69,067.
Oh, we're closing in on that 70,000 mark, aren't we?
Yeah. I know you guys like to track those numbers. So we currently have 20 active district captains, and that was up one over the prior month. And then we had 8 active region captains, which is also one up over the prior month. And financial donors, we lost 6. We went from 117 to 111.
Okay.
Must be somebody cutting back to buy Christmas presents.
Must be, yes.
So
it'll go up in January. That'll be our next deal. We'll recoup that in January.
We will hope so.
Yeah.
And then as far as way of position changes, Robert Butts stepped up and accepted the position of region captain in Region 6. And I don't think we've ever had a full-time region captain there. We had Thomas Schultz that was handling 4 regions at one point. So this relieves him of one of those responsibilities. And then,
Dale, for those that aren't familiar, where is Region 6?
Region 6 is Muncie.
Muncie, okay. Muncie area.
Yeah, that's the Muncie area.
Right.
And then Robert was previously serving as a district captain, and his wife Heather decided to step up from a volunteer activist role to take that district captain role. So we've got another husband and wife team that's kind of asserting themselves here.
We only have a couple of those, but those are good to see, husband and wife team. So
sounds like another interview, Dale.
Yeah. Well, we did have Robert, he goes by Robert as well as Bob, but and Heather. We've already had them on as a district captain when Bob was the district captain. Now we need to line him up to bring him on as a
different role
captain and Heather as the district captain. We'll give them a little time to get their feet wet here.
Get acclimated, yeah, sure. Okay.
But dynamic couple, and I think they're going to do a great job.
Yeah. And then moving on, we're still working. We're in the second week of our Telepatriot mission, where we're calling people, inviting them to make periodic appearances at the Indiana State Capitol with other COS supporters to talk with their legislators, to push the COS message, to take in a hearing, to get involved in politics at the state level so that they can hold their legislators accountable. So far, we've made 180 calls roughly. We've had some pretty positive responses from those. Marty Wood will be coordinating the list when that eventually happens, but that is taken off and going well.
Now explain this again. Now, Dale, hit this one more time as to what we're trying to accomplish here.
Basically, we're building a team of people that, when called, can go to the Indiana State Capitol during the legislative session. So it will be from the 9th of March till the 9th of January to the 14th of March. And while we're there, that's when the legislative session is going to be active. So they're going to be having a full workload, but we will have the opportunity to interact with your individual legislator from whatever district that you're there. You can obviously try to see them, and plus other people in general, just to promote the COS message and to kind of spread a little education about what an Article 5 convention is, and hopefully that's something that they can support. And so these people would be called to appear periodically, a few of us, whatever Marty decides a good number is on any given day, just to kind of meet, walk through the Capitol, find out what's going on, and interact in that way with the legislators.
And just make a presence. Just have a presence there.
Yeah, we like to wear some COS gear, T-shirts, pins, all that kind of stuff to let them know who we are.
Okay. Now, I think, am I correct that embedded in this would be then a quick response team?
Correct. Yeah, these will probably be the same people that would be selected. That if something on the COS agenda or if something on the Indiana legislative agenda that we thought affected the people that we have an interest in, and it was something that we got legal approval for, then they could be called to give testimony and that kind of thing as well if they were comfortable doing that.
Okay. All right.
You bet.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
this next one we've never really talked about before, but in social media, we've been involved in social media for a long time, and we use social media to kind of spread the word about Convention of States. And we're on a number of platforms, and we're involved in that like everybody else is that has an organization, really. But the thing that's interesting, we primarily look at YouTube for kind of a status of where we really are. And so the numbers reported to me were that we had YouTube hits 196 in September, 146 in October. And then something happened in November where we jumped to 26,028. And so I'll leave it to you guys to offer a little explanation to the viewers for that one.
I have no idea what I said. No, we do. You want to explain? You want to start off, Ken?
It's called superfood. Yeah, basically, we've got some very talented people that are involved in social media, and Charlie Myers gets a lot of credit for this because basically he's been involved with his own programming, so to speak, to lead us into developing more shorts and basically real type video that gets put out there to cover a lot of different things that we've done. So, for instance, the Livingstone's church event with Mark Meckler was used, and other parts of our own programming here, COS Indiana Live, get chopped up into some shorts, and we get them out into all our different platforms. And as most people might already realize that spend any time on their phone, these are very popular ways of getting people to at least listen in for 30 seconds, a minute or 2 minutes. And the views on this just explode once YouTube or any of the other platforms recognize that these things are popular. They get expanded further. So our viewership on those just skyrockets. And we're hoping that this obviously will lead people to come in and want to tune into the full program. And so that's kind of the nucleus that kind of led to these huge numbers all of a sudden.
Yes, and it's exactly what Ken said. It's just taking the full program, and we're just breaking it up into small segments, and putting those out. And this is done through some new software, some new technology that one of our members has brought to our attention, Charlie Myers. We want to give him credit for this. And the software utilizes AI.
Yep.
To do this.
It's everywhere.
Artificial intelligence, folks, playing a role here.
Still has a human. There's necessity for human intervention on it. I mean, it's not totally just randomly put out there by AI. We do look at these different portions, and sometimes they need to be edited in certain ways. But
to create these without AI would take hours for a human to do. And we've done that, and we've tried doing that. And however, this new software, this new technology with AI, it's done quickly. And but like Ken said, we still have the human capability to review and reject or accept whatever is generated. But it's just opened a door that I never thought we would ever get to. But I mean, 26,000 views. That's just 1 month. That's just November. And that's just I'm just overcome really by this. So it's really helped us springboard.
The future looks bright for social media, and of course, a lot of conservatives believe that big tech or tech in general is their enemy, which is often true, but not in this particular instance, for sure.
No. And we've also I didn't include this this time around, but we've also started. We've become a member of a number of a new newscasters broadcast system generated out of Alabama. We'll talk about it more in time. It's called Newscasters Studio. We've become a member of that, and we'll be posting our program recording, COS Indiana Live, to that new news network. So we'll be those numbers will also be reflected here in coming months. So okay.
Yeah, and then lastly is just a focus on Surge Day, which will be February 7th in 2024. And Surge Day is a day when we invite everyone who is supportive of COS Indiana to attend the state capitol, to meet with us there, to see their own legislators, to listen to some speeches and things that we will orient for them, and just spend the day kind of getting to know the state capitol. They can take tours if they haven't been there before. It's just an awesome day and a chance to share some fellowship with some like-minded COS supporters.
And what's the date? What was the date again on that?
February 7th. It's on a Wednesday.
February 7th. That's always been a very important day. Very good day for us to. We get reserved an area down on the main floor. I think we're going to have. Am I right? We're going to have speakers come in, people making presentations. So it's always it's always a good day to meet with legislators and really make a presence there on that day. So now this is a short session coming up, legislative session coming up this year, right, Dale?
Yeah, 9 January through 14 March.
Yeah, so don't have a whole lot of time, but
no.
So
hopefully weather will cooperate in February.
Yeah.
That's the wild card.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, well, got about a minute here or two, Dale. Anything in the works in December that we need to? I know we got Christmas coming up, we got holidays coming up, but
yeah, I think we've got a state call that will be coming up on Wednesday, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what the goals are for the grassroots team and for the legislative team, and try to put a plan together for, obviously, probably the legislative season should be some of our most active seasons of the year as far as our people getting involved with the legislators and going to the state house, etc. So everything is in the mix to plan for that.
That is a really active time of the year, especially when they try to jam through so many pieces of legislation. It's amazing how that actually works.
Hopefully in 2024 we can open up Surge Day with somebody affiliated with COS singing the national anthem for us, so we can look forward to hearing that belt out through the halls of the Capitol building. That'll be interesting.
I've got a good candidate for you. We've got a great candidate for that.
Probably thinking about the same person.
Young lady up from your neck of the woods up there, I think.
Yeah, and actually that we've got a couple.
Do we?
that I found out about. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got some talent out there, so we're looking forward to putting them to work. This has been done elsewhere, and they said it was awesome and set the tone for the whole meeting. So
yeah,
perfect.
Good. All right, Dale, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, gentlemen.
Have a good
Good
evening.
to see you, Dale.
All right, Ken. Well, Ken, let's wrap things up this evening, and let's talk about what's going to happen on our next broadcast. And we're still working this out, but of course, our next broadcast will be next Monday evening, the 18th.
Right.
And we're gonna do something a little different. We did a panel thing on some retired FBI agents not too long ago. That was very popular.
Right.
So this time we're going to have some retired military veterans.
Great.
I got 3 or 4 that are going to willing to participate. We're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to devote the whole broadcast to this. We're going to have a discussion on our military today. What's going on in our military? What are some of the challenges that we're facing in our military? And as you know, we are facing some challenges.
For sure.
So it ought to be very good. It ought to be very good.
I'm looking forward to that type of insight. Yeah.
It is. It's going to be very good. And that'll be next Monday evening, the 18th, 7 p.m., same time. And then that's going to be pretty much it for the rest of the year. The next roundtable, which would normally be on the 25th, the 4th Monday, obviously, that is Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So we will present a best of that evening since it's Christmas. So that will take us through 12/25, December 25th. So following that, the Monday following that is New Year's Day.
Or day. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll do a best of for that night as well.
A couple of highlighted programs. So it's still good to tune in.
Yes, definitely. So I also want to mention something that has that we have reinstated, and Ken and I got this going again. You know, we do a podcast. It's called COS Indiana Live Voices, and we just completed episode number 10. Am I right on that? Episode number 10?
Number 10, yeah. Number 10. Yeah.
And our guest that day for the podcast was Micah Beckwith.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Turned out very good, didn't it, Ken? Turned out very good.
I enjoyed that interview with Micah. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Very interesting guy.
Very busy.
Yes. And that can be found on Spotify.com. I'm sure it's other platforms too, but the main one, Spotify.com. And you want to go to that website and search on COS Indiana Live Voices to get that most recent episode. And of course, our past episodes are on there too. So we'll be getting those cranked out here on somewhat of a regular basis. So we'll get another one in the works here very, very soon. I just want to kind of wrap things up, Ken, with our email address, raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com.
Yep.
So if you had any comments or questions about our broadcast after we close out tonight, contact us through raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Well, Ken, that's it for tonight. What we'll do now is Ken and I will sign off. We'll close out with a Mark Meckler video that we like to play. And once that video is over, then we'll end the broadcast. So, Ken, thanks for coming on. Thank you for making it back safely from your trip out east.
Yeah, it didn't get hairy until I got about 5 minutes away from home. So,
yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah.
You
hit a traffic jam when you're trying to get home, huh?
Trying to get home. You go travel 10 hours, and then in the last 5 minutes, you run into traffic trying to get into the house. So it all worked out well. I got here in time, and I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it too. Thanks a lot, Ken. And everyone, have a good evening, and we'll see you next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So everyone, have a good day. Have a good evening.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness, but never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged, for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.